So, how does that look? You want to try it? Hey guys, so today I want to show you one of my favorite and most popular recipes for my blog, and that's a tiramisu. It's one of those desserts that I used to ask for when I was a kid, even on my birthdays, and I think I even prefer it to cake. So I want to show you the version that I do, which is pretty close to the classic. It may be different in a few little ways. For example, I like to use coffee liqueur. Some people do it with amaretto, some people do it with marsala wine, some people do it with rum. I think the coffee liqueur plays off of the coffee that I'm already adding to the tiramisu anyway, so I think it just brings out that coffee flavor even more. Now the interesting thing about tiramisu is that it's a really new recipe. It was created in like the 60s and the 70s, and it comes from northern Italy. It's actually from Treviso, which is north of Venice. So even though tiramisu was only discovered about 50 some odd years ago, it's become probably the most popular Italian dessert worldwide. So there's something to be said about this specific dessert. Maybe it's the ease of putting it together. Maybe it's the flavors of the coffee and the mascarpone cheese. Maybe it's the ladyfingers, which I had in front of me, which are perfect for absorbing that coffee, and they have this really nice crispy cakey texture. So let's get started on this wonderful Italian dessert called tiramisu, which literally translates to pick me up. And it's one of those desserts that will definitely pick you up. So for tiramisu, you have to break some eggs and you have to separate them too. So I've already done that here. I have 4 yolks here and 4 whites over here. And now normally if I were in the States, I would just use pasteurized eggs. But here in Europe, it's impossible to get pasteurized eggs. And the eggs here aren't washed, they aren't treated in any way. So to be extra careful, to make sure that I don't get any food poisoning, I will be cooking these eggs over a bain-marie. So I'm gonna add half a cup of sugar to my egg yolks here. So here in Europe, the granulated sugar has these huge crystals, so it's going to take a little bit for the crystals to dissolve in the eggs. So what I like to do is beat together this mixture until it's pale here on the countertop, and then I'll transfer it over to the simmering water to continue beating it until the granulated sugar has completely dissolved. And now this is going on to my small saucepan over here. The granules are getting smaller. So the egg yolks are done. I'm going to transfer this to my larger mixing bowl so that they can begin cooling down before I add the mascarpone. And to this I'm going to add my mascarpone cheese. And you want to beat this until it's nice and smooth. So just like this, beautiful and silky smooth. So same with the egg whites. I'm going to add sugar. And I'm going to beat it up really well here on the counter before I place it over the simmering water. And now once the sugar crystals have dissolved like they have, I like to continue beating this on the counter, because at this point we don't need the heat anymore. Both hands. And I like to beat the egg whites until I have soft peaks. So I don't really need them completely stiff, because I'm not making a meringue, even though this is very much like making a meringue. But I don't need it to be that stiff, because ultimately it'll get folded right into the egg yolk and mascarpone mixture. Well, that's pretty good. So I'm going to fold in the beaten egg whites in 3 additions. Okay, so now we're ready for assembling this wonderful tiramisu. We've got our cream filling, our mascarpone and egg and sugar mixture here. I have about 1 1/4 cups of brewed coffee from my mocha pot right here. To this I'm going to add some espresso liqueur, which is one of my favorites because I love coffee in every which way. So I added about 1/2 cup of espresso liqueur to the coffee. Just gonna give it a stir. And of course, we're gonna be dipping the ladyfingers into this mixture. So I have this shallow bowl here that I'm gonna add some of this mixture to. Let's see if I add about 1/2 of that. That should be good for now. And here I have my ladyfingers, also called savoiardi in Italian. Funny thing is, in Hungarian, they're called baba piskóta, which means baby sponge cake. So it's another cute name for them. So the way you do this is you take the savoiardi and the sugar side is up. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And this might be a little bit of a tight squeeze. 1, 2, 3. I'm soaking the ends a little bit more just so that I can squeeze in the ladyfingers into this baking pan instead of cutting off the tips. I'm going to add 1/2 of this mixture. And now for the second row. And all I'm doing is I'm holding the ladyfinger onto the surface of the coffee, so I'm not fully immersing it. And now I'm adding the rest of the mascarpone mixture. So what I'm doing is I'm going to cover this with some plastic wrap and I'll place it in the refrigerator. Now I want to refrigerate it for a minimum of 2 hours, but preferably overnight. I think tiramisu is much better when it's had a chance to really soak in all the flavors. So I'm going to try to get this as taut as possible so that it doesn't really touch the top of the cream. So the tiramisu has been in the fridge for about 2.5 hours. And now I'm going to whip up the cream that I'm going to spread on top. So I count on about 1 cup of heavy cream. It's almost this entire little bottle. And I have a tablespoon of sugar that I'm going to add to the cream just to sweeten it a little bit. And I'm going to whisk it together until I get nice stiff peaks. That's pretty good. So I'm going to do little dollops because it'll be easier to spread the whipped cream that way. Most traditional tiramisu recipes don't even use whipped cream, but for me, I think it's a really nice addition. And now comes the cocoa powder. My little extra addition is to put some chocolate shavings on top. So I've got some 70% chocolate. So now I've created a nice mess, but it's ready to serve. So, this is the kind of dessert that I love, and it's very hard for me to stop eating when I get started. But I'm going to be very good today and just give myself a nice big square. I'm just looking at exactly where the seams are so that I know where to cut. You can see the ends of the ladyfingers. It's so good. Now mind you, this has only been in the fridge for about 2 to 3 hours. If you leave this overnight, it'll be even better. The ladyfingers will have the chance to absorb more of the moisture from the cream. I love that the literal translation of this dessert is pick me up, because for me this is the best pick me up. This picks up my mood, this picks up everything. I just feel so good when I'm eating a tiramisu. So this is one of those classic Italian desserts that I think will never ever go out of style. There are so many different ways to make a tiramisu, but this is my version and I think it is one of the best. I think adding the coffee liqueur really highlights the coffee flavor even more, especially for someone like me who is a coffee fiend. And using just really good chocolate, really good cocoa powder, it's really all about just using good ingredients, and it's a simple dessert to put together otherwise. So let me know what you think about my tiramisu recipe. Thank you again for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.